I have the honor of serving as your Commander-in-Chief, our forces will be strong, our weapons will be modern, and America will be unintimidated. Today, however, I have a solemn question. Are we safer now than we were 7 years ago? Anyone who believes the answer to that question is yes should probably vote for former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Sadly, I believe the answer is no. America is not safer. Hillary Clinton tried to appease Vladimir Putin with a reset button. Now, sensing weakness, Putin today is redrawing the map of Europe with loaded guns. He is dismembering Ukraine, trying to destroy NATO, and threatening to use nuclear weapons. Hillary Clinton announced a pivot to Asia that proved hollow, and she downplayed China's abysmal human rights records. Sadly, there is more. Hillary Clinton pushed for the war in Libya. Then she stood by the caskets of Christopher Stevens, Sean Smith, Tyrone Woods, and Glenn Doherty. She stood by their caskets, looked in the eyes of their parents, and pointed to a YouTube video she knew was not the cause of their deaths in Benghazi. That is outrageous. Earlier this year, the Director of National Intelligence testified before Congress that 2014 was the most lethal year for terrorism in the 45 years. The most lethal year for terrorism in the 45 years that they have collected data. The Obama-Clinton foreign policy of leading from behind is not working. And sadly, we are headed towards a disaster. Political rhetoric will not keep us safe. We've had enough of a president who proclaims that the greatest threat to future generations is climate change. America can and must do better. We are at war with radical Islamic terrorism. It will not go away overnight. ISIS militants rape girls as young as 9 and sell women into sex slavery. The human toll of these evil, unthinkable actions is immeasurable. Hearing gut-wrenching stories of Americans held hostage, tortured, raped, and executed by these radicals make my blood boil. By the grace of God and by the strength of men and women like you, America can and will defeat this evil and eradicate this threat to America. To believe that a stable and lasting Middle East can be built by working with Iran, any more than by working with ISIS, isn't statesmanship. It is pure fantasy. You see, Islamic extremists and other terrorists are most likely using the same trails into our homeland as the drug cartels, the weapons smugglers, and the human traffickers. We must secure our border at any cost. We need to restore counterterrorism and surveillance programs, invest heavily into cyber tools, and improve intelligence and law enforcement cooperation to catch terrorists before they strike. Next, we need to fight terrorists abroad before they come to America. Since many of you cadets will be part of that fight, I want to assure you that we will fight to win. We will fight to win. Far from beating ISIS, President Obama is barely disrupting it. His actual goal is to contain ISIS until he leaves office, all while accommodating Iran. My goal will be to defeat ISIS and roll back Iran's influence in the region. You see, these strategic objectives will guide our military commanders. But let me be clear. Defeating ISIS and rolling back Iran will require a greater investment of U.S. resources. You see, sternly worded tweets and isolated airstrikes will not destroy this enemy. The administration is tying up our troops with political restrictions, preventing them from doing what is necessary to defeat ISIS. These restrictions must be lifted immediately, and all other options must remain on the table. We need to stop micromanaging the military and broadcasting our limits to our enemies. As Commander-in-Chief, I will make decisions that are in the best interest of our national security. I will make these decisions based on sound military counsel rather than political or bureaucratic advice. You see, there's a reason why the President of the United States is called the leader of the free world. Our allies are amongst our greatest resources of strength. If this deal goes forward, it will be remembered as one of the greatest foreign policy failures in U.S. history. So let me be clear. If Congress fails to stop the nuclear deal, I will terminate it on day one. Then I will immediately reimpose sanctions against Iran and work with Congress to impose even more crippling sanctions going forward. See, unlike others, I don't need months or years to mull this over. I don't need to appoint a cabinet or consult a committee. Anybody who doesn't know today that the Iran deal is a bad deal is not ready to be Commander-in-Chief. I am ready to be Commander-in-Chief on day one. Many of you cadets will enter a military that sadly has been decimated by politicians. Shockingly, the finest military force ever assembled is being dismantled at a time when the threats to the United States are growing everywhere. As an American, this angers me, not as a candidate for president, but as an American. Many of you are getting ready to put your lives on the line for us, and we thank you. You deserve better. You deserve better. As Commander-in-Chief, I will make sure you have the resources you need to keep us safe from enemies, foreign and domestic. And I will make certain that you are armed on American soil so you and other service members are safe here as well. How can we How can we possibly deter our sophisticated adversaries in Eastern Europe and our competitors in the South China Sea if we cannot defeat the barbarians of ISIS and roll back the theocrats in Tehran? Clearly, we can no longer afford to be passive spectators while the world descends into chaos. With all the challenges that we face around the globe today, now is not the time for untested leadership. I have been tested like no other candidate in this race. As president, I will send the following message. The retreat is over. American leadership is back. We will not surrender another inch of ground to terrorists or any other power that threatens our safety. America will not be intimidated, and neither will I. America must be not only the land of the free, but the home of the brave. An America that is unintimidated.